Well, I already made one video today, a kind of gloomy one over at the Magic Island. I hadn't really thought I would make another video today, but well, yesterday I got two Oracle decks. One I was expecting, the other was sort of a nice surprise. So today, the one I got yesterday was this one. The Wild Unknown Archetype. And I hemmed and hawed about getting these. The round shape and the bright watercolor contrasted to the textural line drawings kind of intrigued me, and the nice fat guidebook, because I really like nice fat guidebooks. And well, so here we are with Deviant Moon. Deviant Moon is my favorite deck to read with. It has we have a history, the Deviant Moon deck and I. So these Jungian archetypes, I think I made a video about them. To me, they are the perfect companion for the Deviant Moon. Now, I mean, Patrick Valenza has made oracles, and they are astonishing and lovely, and I would dearly love to get them, but, you know, I wouldn't pair them with Deviant Moon. I would pair them with other tarot decks, because Patrick Valenza's work is so powerful that anything else takes sort of a back seat, but it's got to be pretty powerful too. So these Jungian archetype things I thought were pretty powerful, and these Wild Unknown Archetypes, I thought these little so I hemmed and hawed, and I thought kind of wanted to get the big deck because I think the packaging is so wonderful. But I in all honesty, though I do admire the artwork, I don't like it enough to have the great big circles, and I thought that they would look kind of nice as just these smaller things. So I didn't really expect a whole lot from the from the Wild Unknown Archetype Oracle. I just thought it would be that the guidebook would flesh out these readings. I really do like to linger over readings, you know, and the more I have to read in a guidebook, the happier I am. But there's something, I don't know, there's some kind of, I when I first opened them up, they're a little bit flimsy, you know. I wasn't too impressed with them. The artwork was not as I didn't. Well, let's just say I wasn't sorry I got them, because I do like them, but then they're I don't know, something about them strikes me as masculine too, which is I don't really understand what I mean by that, but let's just say my first impression of the Unknown Beyond Archetype deck was a little bit abrasive. Yet I diligently went to set them out with the Deviant Moon, not with the Jungian archetypes. Yesterday I just played around with the Unknown Archetypes and Deviant Moon, but right away it invented a spread, and the spread it invented was this one, except that I've expanded it now. So that was pretty impressive, that an oracle deck, not even a tarot deck, but an oracle deck, basically dictated the spread, and that's and it calls the spread as above, so below. And I had intended to lay them out in my own configuration, the compass and the crossroads, which works really well for reading oracle and tarot card combinations, but this is a much expanded situation, and I thought that I would document this very interesting decision that the unknown archetypes, which is also the author of this deck studied depth psychology, so she's very familiar with the so there is sort of a harmonizing, and I find the Jungian archetype is a very masculine deck as well. It was, made by a, well, anyhow. I have quite an aversion to things masculine in a really subjective and quite nonsensical way, because of course could be that all these sort of masculine elements creeping in are I'm a water sign. I'm a very, very watery water sign and don't much like containment. So things masculine always sort of smack of structure and organization, containment, which is actually something I need right now as we're going into the winter, and my thoughts should be turning to organization, to get things orchestrated. So perhaps these decks know what they're about. I trust that they do. So let's just take a look at this and see what we have. So the three unknown archetypes are where we start. They are the midline, as above, so below, and we have the shadow. Now, I haven't read in the guidebook. I'll do that after. This is going to just be a very fleeting first impression. That looks a little like the cube of space to me, which is definitely sort of a containment, yet it creates that little aperture in the middle there to escape, perhaps, to connect the shadow to the light. I don't know. Anyhow, something about a paradoxical situation between containment and escape. And then we have the seed, which is in the east position. So the mind, the seed, a seed of organization. I hope a pearl of organization, a pearl and a vision. This is my favorite card in the deck by far. There's the mountain, which is very important to the author of this deck. The author with a flame and an ocean within the flame. I really, really do love that. And there are the lines, that perhaps the vision is in the seed of a vision. Absolutely, absolutely. The aperture in the cube, the containment and the escape combined into one. Then we have the tarot deck, Deviant Moon itself, with Temperance, a favorite card of mine. Sort of temperance is sort of a kindly containment, a beneficial, perfecting sort of containment. And the Ace of Pentacles, very wonderful pentacles. My friend, the earth, the treasures of the earth, guarded jealously. Oh yes, well and that's where my spirit lives. So it's treasures I have much to do with. I am a dragon hoarding treasures, indeed I am. And then we have my favorite Two of Pentacles of any deck is this beautiful dancer here and juggling the pentacles. And I am a juggler. And I really should be dancing. Dancing, yes. Dancing and balance. Okay, well, we will... now, we have the Temperance Major Arcana and Justice Major Arcana. Justice. This is kind of a cold justice. A cold justice. Well, that could have to do with family relations, which are sort of cold and dwell on that right now. Okay, so now for the expanded crossroads. Usually there would just be an oracle, but I've paired it with a tarot card. And here we have the Five of Wands and the Herald. So all this Five of Wands, this quibbling, and could have to do with the Justice over here, could have to do with the Ace of Wands over here on the far, and on the other side of the crossroad is the Ace of Wands, which is another favorite card of mine. And we also have an Ace of Pentacles. Grounding my passions, perhaps, and seeking some sort of resolution to the internal quibbling, the fighting over the flame flower up there, the struggle for legitimacy. I was talking about legitimate complaints just earlier today, so. And then we have the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords. I always think of the Knight of Swords as the most dangerous of the knights. I mean, even more dangerous than the Knight of Wands, who is fire of fire, is the Knight of Swords, because air, of course, inflames fire. So the Knight of Swords, he is not going to fool around. He is going to lay waste to anything that gets in his path. The archetype of archetypes, the archetypal image. Well, tarot, it's funny to have, like, archetypal images in tarot, because of course tarot is entirely archetypal images. So it's a little redundant to have archetypal images in a tarot deck that are archetypes of archetypes, I suppose. There in the Deviant Moon, the Three of Cups. Look at these fellas in the mouth of the fish. So, well, that's an interesting other end of the crossroad, to have the Knight of Swords and so to arrive at fellowship, no matter how difficult that may be. And it could be kind of difficult because I am a true recluse. I have sort of an aversion to fellowship in general. The Herald, I think, is something like Judgment. I'm not too familiar. It's still a very new deck, so I'm still getting familiar with what it means, but I suspect it's something like Judgment, and then we get back to Justice again. And then we have the Magician at the crossroads. So we have internal quibbling, all trying to seize the prize on the hill there, the blooming flower. And the flower may be destroyed if the quibbling can't be resolved. Yes, so we need some good news, and that is perhaps the Herald. And a magic trick. We need to marshal our skills, and that's where the fellowship could very well come in, is I do have a lot of talented friends. So perhaps some sort of artistic collaboration, which I very much hope for, in fact. Perhaps my daughter, my sister, and myself. That would be wonderful. Ace of Wands. Ace of Wands. Oh, yes, I love this card so much. The baby that the fellowship will bring about, perhaps. I'm determined to not let my illegitimate complaints interfere. I'm going to ride roughshod over all illegitimate complaining, which I am very much inclined to muddy waters. I don't want any muddy. We're not going to tolerate that. Of course, riding roughshod could create muddy. The archetypal image. I wonder what she could mean. Well, I'll have to investigate that. I can't really even. She looks sort of angelic, doesn't she? So there with the Herald. Yes, perhaps divine intervention. And the Father. Now, Usually I have problems with authoritative cards like the Father, the Emperor, the Hierophant. I am, yes, I have problems with masculine archetypes in general. However, my own father, the groovy butterfly lion, who I miss with all my heart, is a different matter. So that he is paired with fellowship is entirely characteristic of my father, and that his words, the things that he said to me when he was alive, the way that he was, is a light in my life, even though he's not here day to day anymore. He is still here day to day, and I live where he was so happy. So, although the Father, that single eye, I have to read that one too. But yes, the Father as a patriarchal icon, I reject pretty resoundingly. However, my own father was like a Zen master without, he would have laughed his ass off about that had I said so. But it's true. Anybody in my family would agree that he was just naturally a Zen master and wiser than any of us more intellectually pretentious people in the family. Anyhow, I just thought that since this was, to show you how decks can kind of make you sing a different tune when they have a mind to. These archetypes, the wild unknown archetypes, have poo-pooed my reluctance to deal with masculine energy and just gone ahead and asserted their worth all willy-nilly. So here we are. Here we have the very first reading I've done with my beloved Deviant Moon, who always tells me the truth, with its own two oracles. The wild unknown archetype. I'm glad I got those little fellas rather than the big ones. And the Jungian archetype oracle. So I am going to investigate this reading a little further by looking at what the guide has to say about these oracle cards I'm not so familiar with. But definitely Deviant Moon has laid out the the essential. The Deviant Moon has laid out the essential, as it always does. Thank you, Deviant Moon. And I am mightily pleased with the new spread and all of these wonderful, wonderful cards. Goodbye for now.